The thunder outside his window wasn't what woke Marcus Hawley that gray November morning in 2025. It was the unfamiliar rustle of fabric against skin, the soft clink of a mug on the counter, pulling him from the depths of a dream where he was still whole, still unbroken. At 34, with calloused hands from 12-hour shifts at the steel mill, and a heart scarred by the ghost of a woman who'd left him with nothing but a toddler's cries and a stack of custody papers. Marcus had long ago stopped believing in mornings that didn't end in quiet defeat. But there she was, framed in the hazy dawn light filtering through the blinds of his modest Brooklyn walk-up, a woman he vaguely recalled from the haze of last night's barstool confessions. Her live figure draped in his faded flannel shirt, the one with the frayed cuffs from too many washes. The one he'd worn to Jamal's preschool open house, like armor against the pitying stares of other parents. Her blonde hair cascaded in wild waves over shoulders that spoke of boardrooms and private jets. And as she turned, cradling a chipped ceramic cup that steamed with the bitter aroma of his overbrewed coffee, her emerald eyes locked onto his with a raw intensity that pinned him to the sagging couch, his pulse thundering louder than the storm. In that suspended breath, Marcus felt the world crack open, exposing the fragile underbelly of his solitary life. And he knew, with a certainty that chilled his bones, that whatever words were about to spill from her lips would either shatter him or stitch him back together, if you believe in the raw magic of kindness. In second chances that sneak up on us like dawn after the darkest night. Smash that like button right now. Drop a comment sharing your own brush with unexpected hope. Share this video with someone carrying their own hidden weights. And subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us love doesn't always arrive announced. It just shows up. Shirt and all, Marcus's days had become a relentless grind, etched into the rhythm of survival. Each one a testament to the quiet heroism of a man who'd traded his youth for fatherhood's unyielding demands. Jamal, his 7-year-old son with curls like midnight coils and eyes that mirrored his own deep brown pools brimming with curiosity and the unspoken ache of missing his mother, had been the anchor in the storm since Tiaya walked out 3 years prior. Her parting words a knife twist. I can't breathe here, Marcus. This life, it's suffocating me. She'd vanished into the glitter of Manhattan's nightlife, leaving behind a half-packed diaper bag and a note that read like an apology from a stranger. Marcus, a former graphic designer whose portfolio gathered dust in a drawer while he punched clocks at the mill to cover rent on their 2-bedroom and bed-stuy, where the walls whispered of better days through peeling paint, and the distant wail of sirens had shouldered it all without a murmur. Mornings began at 5 a.m., the alarm's buzz yanking him from fitful sleep on the pull-out couch so Jamal could have the bed, his small frame curled under quilts patched from thrift store finds. Breakfast was oatmeal packets stretched thin with water, eaten over hurried stories from Marcus's childhood in rural Georgia, tales of fireflies and family barbecues that painted pictures brighter than their fluorescent-lit kitchen. Then came the commute, the A train rattling like his frayed nerves, bodies pressed too close in the winter chill. His mind replaying the latest eviction, notice slipped under the door, or the school fee reminder that mocked his overtime scarce paycheck. At work, the clang of machinery drowned out the what if he'd fought harder for that art fellowship? What if Tiaya had stayed for Jamal's sake? But the ache resurfaced in the evenings, when he'd scoop his boy from after-school care at Miss Rosa's brownstone, her weathered hands pressing a foil-wrapped tamale into his palm with a knowing nod. You holding up, Neo? The good lords got extras for the strong ones. Home meant baths drawn with lukewarm promises of stability. Bedtime readings from dog-eared library books where heroes always won. And Marcus's solitary vigil afterward, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped his regrets like veins of forgotten gold. Loneliness wasn't a guest. It was the landlord collecting rent and stolen dreams. And Marcus paid it faithfully, convincing himself that one day, when Jamal was grown and the mill's dust had settled, he'd reclaim the colors he'd buried. Until that rainy Thursday night, when exhaustion had driven him to O'Malley's, a dimly lit Irish pub tucked in Crown Heights, for a single pint to numb the edges of another denied loan application. That's where fate, disguised as a soaked stranger nursing a gin and tonic, had collided with his orbit, her laughter cutting through the murmur of locals like sunlight through smog. Elena Cartwright, 31 and the iron-willed CEO of Cartwright Dynamics, a biotech firm revolutionizing neural implants for mental health. Her name synonymous with TED Talks and Times 30. Under 30 had built her empire on the bones of inherited resilience. Her parents' immigrant grit from Lagos, fueling her ascent from cramped Queens tenements to a glass-walled corner office overlooking the East River. But success, for all its sheen, had hollowed her out like a winter branch, leaving a woman who commanded millions in funding rounds, yet flinched from the mirror's reflection of eyes shadowed by isolation. Dates were transactions, brief and calculated, ending in polite goodbyes that echoed her mother's warnings. Don't let love clip your wings. Elena, men like vultures, they circle for the fall. She'd armored herself in silk blouses and steel resolve. Her days a blur of investor pitches and prototype unveilings. Nights dissolving into Netflix queues in a Tribeca. Loft that felt more museum than home pristine lines and abstract art collecting dust while her heart gathered cobwebs. Vulnerability was a glitch in the code. One she'd debugged early after a college romance that ended in betrayal, his jealousy curdling her ambition into something toxic. So she sought escapes in anonymous corners, like O'Malley's that night, fleeing a botched merger that had left her team fractured and her confidence cracked. The rain had plastered her usually impeccable bob to her neck, her cashmere coat dripping puddles as she claimed a stool, oblivious to the man beside her until his quiet chuckle at the bartender's fumbled pour drew her gaze. Marcus, with his broad shoulders hunched against the world and a voice like aged bourbon smooth, with undercurrents of smoke unraveled her defenses thread by thread. He spoke of Jamal's obsession with dinosaurs, mimicking a T-Rex roar that had her snorting into her glass. She confessed the terror of leading lives she couldn't pause, her words tumbling free for the first time in years. One drink became three, stories weaving into shared silences that felt like confessions. And when the bar's last call echoed hollow, they tumbled into the cab ride to his place, not for conquest, but for the rare solace of not being alone. In his bed, too narrow for two, but vast enough for truth. She borrowed his shirt against the chill, her head on his chest as sleep claimed them. The storm outside lulling them into a fragile peace.